The autonomous region of Muslim Mindanao holds great potential for businesses and can be a great boost for the economy once the conflict is finally resolved. The conflict in the ARMM has been ongoing for decades, and the country is finally taking bigger steps to resolving the issue. However, various incidents of violence still happen within its boundaries. The World Bank says that each occurrence has a corresponding economic cost. And to keep track of these and its costs, the World Bank, in partnership with peace-building organization International Alert, has created the Bangsamoro Conflict Monitoring System, a database that gathers and verifies information pertaining to the causes and effects of strife within the region.
The main purpose for establishing the Bangsamoro Conflict Monitoring System is to be able to track incidents of violent conflict, to try and look at its costs, and to be able to assist policy planners, policymakers, planners, and development workers determine the impact and the effects of any peace-building or development intervention that they make in the Bangsamoro region.
Data is primarily documented through two sources: police records and media reports. However, not all forms of conflict are reported to authorities and are covered by media agencies, so a third source is also tapped, which is primarily comprised of people who live on the ground. Once data is gathered, the information is then verified and analyzed through several layers, which include experts from the World Bank and International Alert, various academic partner institutions, and a multi-stakeholder validation group made of experts within communities like priests, imams, and other leaders who may have first-hand information about what's happening. What's more is that this information is also presented to both government agencies and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, so they can add more knowledge to what's been recorded.
Right now, they're not directly involved in verifying, but there is a chance that for them to actually verify this when we do our reports to them. And we have done presentations to the MILF. We've also made a presentation to the ARMM, regional government. That gives them a chance to say, hey guys, that data does not seem to fit our own interpretation. Then we look at the evidence and then we show it to them, and they can react to that and see whether they have additional evidence to provide or whether we have to discount evidence that does not hold any water. No.
So why is tracking all these incidents important? According to International Alert Country Manager Dr. Francisco Lara, these help uncover even more information that paints a clearer picture on what is happening inside the ARMM and where exactly these incidents occur.
It's very important to identify where they're happening, but it's also important to find out what is causing conflict, what the causes are. The nice thing about the database is it has fairly clear reasons cited in police reports and at the same time in media reports. Another important issue here is you're creating a baseline of data that can then be used to track the impact of the work you're doing, developmental or peace-building in nature. Based on these baseline, you can actually measure whether your work that you're doing has actually led to a decline, or an increase, or probably no effect at all in terms of conflict. So in that regard, it's very, very important for development people. Finally, I think it's also important because it highlights the fact that there are huge costs to conflict in the Bangsamoro, which is very important in terms of fighting conflict and at the same time planning for a future.
Since its launch in March, the database has uncovered various significant points of information. For example, the numbers have shown that in terms of quantity of violence conflicts, Maguindanao still tops the list in 2014, reinforcing an impression of a bad neighborhood. But despite the high number of incidents, one notable observation derived from the data is that conflicts in Sulu, that only ranks 4th in terms of quantity, has affected more people in terms of injuries, displacement, and death. As for factors that cause these conflicts, most of these events are triggered by shadow economy activities like illegal firearm deals, drugs, kidnapping, illegal gambling, human trafficking, and financial scams. However, conflict related to political and identity issues like rebellion and land feuds have higher costs and more damage.
When you compare them with costs of conflict, you find out that political violence is very high in comparison to shadow economies. What does that say? You have a lot of incidents of violent conflict in relation to shadow economies, but in terms of the number of people getting killed, you have more people getting killed out of rebellion. Those are the sort of things that you get out of the conflict database. And of course, I urge you and your listeners and people who are watching to go and download data and do your own analysis, because the data is there. You can download it now. You can correlate it with GDP, with health, with education, what have you. And it's just, a click away, literally.
The database is, of course, far from perfect and still has various limitations. According to Dr. Lara, one of these is that not all incidents of violence is reported to the police and media and can therefore unknowingly exclude certain information. Another is that conflict can spill out of the region or even spill into it from their neighboring areas. And lastly, Dr. Lara adds that they eventually would have to sharpen categories and analyses. The information on the system is free for those who would like to get a copy. Simply log on to their website and register to download.